Ready?
Yep.
Okay. And good. Everyone, we are at the Martial Arts Super Show in Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, in 2015, and we caught up with Tyron Woodley, who is here for Mind Body, and we promised him I'd talk about this, but more importantly about the welterweight landscape. So, first, can you tell me a little bit about Mind Body, how it helps companies, all that?
Mind Body is one of the premier membership software companies in the U.S. They specialize in basically tracking members, also attendance. If you have a ranking system, you want to see how many classes the kids have been at, or if you got a pissed off client, you can notate that account and say, hey man, this guy came in, he freaking got punched in the nose and he wasn't happy about it. So you can say, hey man, I hope you have a better experience or something like that. So we use it a lot. I use it mostly when I'm out of town, because I'm out of town a lot. I can just go on Mind Body Connect on my phone, check on my members, see who owed me money, see who's been missing, and I can just keep tabs on my business.
So this is a whole lot different from that. Not to throw anyone under the bus, but you go to certain Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academies, it's kind of, I was there. This is the most effective way currently to keep track of a business going forward.
For sure, the pen and pad doesn't work anymore. I mean, it went from pen and pad to QuickBooks. Now it's just really updated where these guys have a really high-tech version of what we were doing 10, 15 years ago. So you go in, you sign up, you get a little key card, which is associated, it's really your identity. So you can use that to buy a refreshment, a pair of shin guards, a gi, and your credit card that's on file, you can just scan it. So it makes it very simple. Also, when you have a member that, say, they're up for a promotion and you're about to give them a new belt, you can kind of track, if a parent comes and says, hey, why is Johnny not getting a belt? He's only been to 50% of the classes. And my notation on the account said he was nasty to his teammate, and, that's not the Bushido spirit. That's not what us martial artists do. So I connected with these guys years back. I've been using them for 4 years, and I always come to the Martial Arts Super Show. It's refreshing to hang around genuine people, martial artists that are true martial artists. They have the respect, the discipline, the honor, and sometimes that's lost in mixed martial arts.
Now, about the welterweight division, I'm going to use, right now I just want to talk mainly about Robbie Lawler, because that dude has delivered every single fight. That dude has competed his heart out for years and years and years, and yet he's not the main card. He's a champion. He's not. As a fighter, does that play on another fighter's mind? Is it just because he didn't ever sell himself? Is this something that you look at and go, okay, I'm just as good, but if I want to get Conor McGregor under me, do I got to talk as loud, and how does that work?
We've had this discussion. I've been talking to Ricardo Laborio the entire week. The thing is to really be authentic. You can't be authentic at a volume of 2 because nobody will hear you. It's too many fights. It's UFC Fight Night. It's Fox, UFC on Fox. It's Fox Sports 1. It's pay-per-view. It's Fight Pass. It's so many different UFCs in a month. You might have 4, 5 UFCs in 1 month. Your performance has to stand out by itself. You have to steady stay in the loop. Conversation have to, like I broke my foot in January. It's still conversations about Tyron wanting to fight Johnny Hendricks. Who's next in the landscape? You got to keep yourself in the mill and people talking about you. Conor McGregor's done a great job of really selling the entertainment portion of it. This sport is veering towards being complete entertainment, less of a sport, and you got to be able to do both. If you remember Robbie in the Strikeforce days, this was his answer. Yeah, I'll see you at the fight. And now he's a little bit more open. He's accepting the responsibilities of being a champion. And I think that he's focusing more on the fight because he realized that Rory McDonald is a tough task. He's not getting caught up in the hoopla. And I think his experience from being in the UFC at age 19, coming back, and like you said, he's been on a tear. You can't do anything but respect the guy. He has the biggest comeback story in all of mixed martial arts. And, I'm just proud to be a teammate, and I'll be out there supporting him.
Is it hard for you you're in Florida, you're here, you're there. Is it hard to travel and fight? Like how much earlier, because everyone's talking about Kane, how he showed up, he wasn't ready. And is it hard for, I can do this, sorry.
I mean, if you're
yeah, who says the guy getting interviews in the most conversationally? So is it hard? How do you prepare for, you come to Vegas, it's all this, there's all these people, there's distractions. How do you remain focused? How much earlier do you show up? What do you eat? Do you plan all that in advance? Do you bring people with you?
I definitely, when I fought in Macau, I fought in China. I went to Singapore 3 weeks before the fight. I was in Macau a week before the fight, so I had 3 entire weeks before I fought to acclimate to the drastic time change. Vegas is really just not getting caught up in the hype. When I fought for a world title in Strikeforce, I fought Nate Marquardt. I was in Vegas for 2 weeks before the fight. I got here for the Super Show, which drained me at the time, and then I stayed for another week. I had some training partners fall through. So basically, 2 weeks before the fight, I had no sparring partners. I was just running and hitting mitts, you know. So it's also dependent on location. I wouldn't want to get out to Vegas until I absolutely had to. It's not that big of a time change for me. It's only a couple hours. It's a smoke in the casino. Everybody, you know, this is a fight city. It's hard to walk and just go check your weight. It would take me 1 hour just to go and check my weight and come back. Not even exercise. So what I've done is I've got a little smarter. I ordered a little bit more room service. I bought, you know, the same exact scale we weigh in on. I bought one myself, and I don't have to make that trip. I weigh in my room, and I really focus on the fight because if you want to enjoy Vegas, stay a couple of days after, enjoy it then. You know, I'm here for business. I'm here to scrap.
Now, who pays for it all? You show up 3 weeks early in China. Who pays for that?
I mean, I pay for it, but it's really paying it forward. If you want to win the fight and you want to invest into yourself, it's a lot of things you believe in. Why not invest in yourself? You know, I paid for my trip to China. I paid for my wife to come, my mom to come. I paid for 2 additional corners to come. I was in for $5 or $6 grand in flights alone. But it was an experience. I knew I was going to go down there and go upsize Dong Young Kim head. And, you know, I was confident that I was going to make the money back in my performance, which I did. I also got a performance bonus. So I think you pay it forward and you invest into yourself.
When you fought him, you knew he's going to – did you know he's going to try something like that? He was spun, you've seen it coming, you caught him. When you fight guys who you're used to seeing them do stuff like that, how do you train for that? How do you know how do you predict it's going to happen?
Well, you acknowledge it, number one. You can't disrespect any martial artist. You know, I'm lucky to be in the best division in the world. We have the most killers in any division. We're the most stacked division. So most of these guys I'm actually a fan of. I'm a fan of Carlos. I love Robbie to death. I'm a fan of Robbie. I'm a fan of Rory. I'm a fan of Matt Brown. So I watch these guys as a spectator just because I'm a student of the sport and I really respect what they do. And also as a competitor, I got to try to find a weakness. I got to try to find a hole in our game. And a lot of fighters these days don't have a ton of holes. So it takes a lot of me watching it. So when I'm doing that, I see what they do, I acknowledge it, I respect it, and I form it around my game plan. The goal is to always be able to do what you want to do, impose your will, acknowledge what that person's doing, but always getting back to yourself. So with him, I knew he was going to do a lot of spinning attacks. I knew he had watched me fight Roy McDonald. Roy McDonald defeated me because he kept me against the cage. And then I just froze, and I just stood there and I allowed him to pick shots. He thought he was going to be able to pressure me, and he thought that was the answer. Little did he know that wasn't the answer. And I knew he was going to game plan that way. He verbally expressed it. And, you know, I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to go home. I had just fought a couple months before. So I knew I was going to do something. I was either going to knock the hell out of him in the first round or I was going to end up losing. I was getting out of that cage.
And this isn't me running my mouth. This is me saying what other people have said. When you started, everyone's like, oh, he's a wet blanket. You've adapted that 100%. It's a whole different. How'd you do that?
You know, everyone says that. You know, when I first started my fight career, I was 5-0 with 100% finishes, all submissions. And then I had some strikers. If you think about the game, it's called mixed martial arts. So if I have a guy that's an elite level striker and his wrestling is very suspect, should I not exploit that area? If I have a guy that's a great wrestler, but I'm a better striker, should I just wrestle him because, you know, I want to prove who's a better wrestler? It's not very fun for the fans to watch, so I'll strike him. When I fought Andre Galvao, best grappler in the world at that point, pound for pound, should I take him down and play jiu-jitsu with him? No, I'm going to knock his butt out. So I think that for me, it's always knowing that I'm probably the most well-rounded fighter in the welterweight division. I have equal power, equal conditioning, equal technique. I'm a great wrestler. I'm approaching my black belt in jiu-jitsu, you know, and I have all those things, and it's just putting it all together. So when people say that, I'm like, I just submitted 5 people. Then I go through a couple of decisions. I'm a wet blanket. The second I knock somebody out, now I'm a knockout artist. When I lost to Nate Marquardt and I knocked out Jay Heron, people forgot about Nate Marquardt. So you got to make sure your last performance is something that leave a lasting impression in a fan's mind because they're very like sound bites. If you say I'm a wet blanket, if they go on the internet, 10 other people are going to say it, and it's going to echo. If Dana White says something, it's a stronger echo. So People aren't really watching the sport and forming their own opinions. They're really just basically mimicking what they hear.
Does that play a factor in your mind while you're fighting? When you're on the ground, do you think, some asshole in Kentucky who I've never met in my life is going to say, or does it not even play a factor? You're just doing your...
I would lie to you. I would be lying to you if I said it didn't. At some point, I went through 2 training camps where I didn't do any strength and conditioning. Everyone said, hey, man, you got too much muscle. It makes them tired. So I said, I'm going to give it a try. I leaned down. I worked on all speed work, agility, sprint sleds, conditioning, long distance running. You know what? My gift is my power. My gift is my speed. I forfeited the ability to be able to explode across a cage because of what other people say. So when I'm watching myself fight, I look at guys like Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt was in a fight with Bigfoot, right? They were about to if you would have thumped them, they would have passed over. And I heard a commentator, look at the cardio of these gentlemen. I'm like, what? He's about to fall out. His heart rate's like 199 right now. And then if you see my stomach lift up, or if I take a deep breath and I'm out of shape, you know what I mean? I think partially it's because they see me explode, and I think I'm quite a bit faster than most guys in my division. So if I'm 40, 50% faster than you and I'm 100%, even if I slow down a little bit, I'm still faster than you, you know what I mean? So I think they want to see guys, you guys just missed Demetrius Johnson, he was just here a second ago. I can't fight like him. Damn it, not very many people can fight like him. He keeps a pace sustained for 25 minutes that a smaller fighter can sustain. A welterweight, we can't do that. We're almost equal power and equal speed. That's why it's so fun to watch us, because we're right in the middle. Guys are fast and they punch hard. You start getting a little heavier, 185, 205, they might not be as fast as us. They might punch harder than us, but we're like right in the middle of the balance. So I have to focus on what my gifts are. And in the past, I agree. I have listened to that. I have listened to what they said, and I've changed my training camp. And I started thinking, like, when did I start listening to what people had to say? When did it start mattering? You know what I mean? And now I'm back to what I'm doing. I'm actually going out to California, and I'm going to get swollen with CT Fletcher. And we're going to lift, and we're going to have a funky good time, and I'm excited about it.
Is it hard as you grow older to maintain your weight?
It is. When I first started the sport, I would make weight without even plastics. I would make weight without really even thinking about it. It was just easy. And then I started growing. I started getting a little older. Metabolism slows down a little bit. My last time was easy. I made a conscious effort that weekend is what gets me. The weekend right before the fight week, I'm like, if I don't pound a couple gallons of water a day, if I don't really make sure I eat clean, because I usually leave, my family's like, hey, Tyron, it's your last day in town. Let's go out to eat. We eat fucking pizza and stuff like that. But now it's to the point where my last fight, I came in 10 pounds lighter. I usually come in at 193 on Monday. I got in at 183 on Monday. It was the easiest weight cut of my life. I probably would have been 168 if I didn't, drink some water and stuff before I weighed in. And then my dude missed weight by 10 pounds. So, as a professional, it's my goal to constantly tweak and figure out what works for me fight week.
How is fight week? I've had to drop weight, and I'm not exactly a happy person to be around. How is it for you? And what percentage are you when you fight? Do you think you're back to 100% with the next day?
I think I'm as best as any athlete is, because if you think about it, I'm not the only one making weight. My opponent's making weight too, and we don't have a ton of guys that are within the top 10 in the welterweight division that are small and walking around, close to 170. Most guys are pretty big. Johnny's a huge guy. When Kelvin Gastelum was in the weight division, he was a huge guy. Rory's a big guy. He's like 215, 220. Robbie, he's a former middleweight. So I think I'm not losing anything when I cut weight and go out there. It's pretty much even playing field. And the fans and the questions, the only thing is, how do you feel? I feel like crap. How the hell you think I feel? Are you ready? What if I'm not ready? I still got to fight. What do you think about your opponent? Those 3 questions are the most questions you get from reporters and get from fans, because they don't understand how to relate to you. They see you, they enjoy you, they watch the fight, and they get close to you, and the first thing they know is, hey, man, how you feeling? How's your weight? But in reality, they just don't know how to communicate with us. So I just know it's a part of the deal, and I appreciate the fans and what they do for us and what they've done for this sport over the last 20 years and made it what it is today, and it's so popular that it's a part of my job, to make sure I connect with those guys. I take some pictures and autographs for them.
Now, going forward, the more popular you get, the more of an object you become. Is that hard to deal with when you're trying to eat dinner with your family and all of a sudden, hey, man, hey, is that hard when you start being treated like an object, and how do you deal with that?
It's not very hard, when I get to that point, I'll have some security, because I started a security company and I ran it by Bird and those guys because I feel like no UFC fighter, especially the champions, the guys with, with a huge name, they shouldn't be walking through the casino just openly. You never see LeBron James, you never seen Colin Kaepernick just walk through MGM Grand. It's a very surprising if you would. So with that said, these guys should have someone going out for them. The car should be ready for them. They should use service elevators. They should only have to focus on the fight week. So now I'm to the point where I have friends that kind of facilitate those needs for me. Or, people know me. I'm one of the more well-known guys in the division, but I'm not like freaking John Jones. I'm not gonna, walk out there and they swarm me like bees on honey. But people are starting to identify with me. So in probably the next couple years or so, when I become champion, I'll probably need to infiltrate some of that security.
Now, can you tell me, it's harder for you because you actually worked your way up. But for me, just a dude with a microphone right now, there's a level where I watch fighting and I'm like, I think I could do all right against that guy. And I couldn't. But there's the welterweight top 10, and then there's the top 5, and that's a whole nother universe. Then there's the top 3, and that's a whole nother universe. How do you see it? How do you feel when you build your way into it? And what's the difference between, if you could have a time machine and the you now go fight the you 5 years ago, like how significant is it? Like if you went and fought an amateur now, how did you get where you're at?
I agree with you, and every division is not like that. Some divisions have a few standout stars, and then it really drops off, and it's not unreal to say that there's some guys in the UFC that you probably could beat. There's some guys in the UFC that are in the same division. I think Ronda Rousey can beat some of the lower level 135-pounders. So it's not like it's a draft where you have to be drafted into the UFC or drafted into professional mixed martial arts. You can stop right now and take a mixed martial art professional fight next week. There's no real process of sifting. So what I believe is that when you're in that position, eventually you're going to get to the top level. Like you said, I would stretch out, just because the welterweight division is so thick, I would compare our top 15 to anybody's top 10. Those guys 11 through 15, those guys are in there. You can't really count those guys out. Top 5 is a different story, excuse me. And top 3, those are the elites. And it's very hard to separate yourself like Georges St. Pierre did at one point. He separated himself from the division. It was him, then it was everybody else. The sport is caught up. The evolution is caught up. Guys are equally versed in grappling, wrestling, striking, power, tenacity, conditioning. It's the high-level, elite-level athletes. That didn't come from a draft. That came from the evolution of the sport. So with that said, if I fought me back in, say 2010, when I was hungry and I wanted to bite somebody's damn head off, I think I would be very evenly matched because now I'm more experienced. I know how to be more efficient with my training, efficient with my sparring, and I know how to use the tools and skills I learned over the last 5 years. But at that point, man, I'm telling you, Laborio told me about it yesterday. He said, man, you got to listen more. Sometimes you train too hard, you train too much. And he said, it's been times I want to say, man, get the hell out of the gym. I get kicked out of the gym. So that was that guy in 2010. I'm a different fighter now, but I think that hunger and that desire and that drive and that overtraining with the experience and knowledge is very even. So I'm blessed to be able to continue and not have the young guy like Kelvin Gastelum, who I viewed as me. I was 10-0, he was 11-0. He was hungry, wanted to take off a big name. I was just like that. So I respected his hunger, and I remember that fighter because I was that fighter, and I took my training camp seriously, and I went out there and I outperformed him.
What's it like, because you roll with cardio, what's it like rolling with someone that good at jiu-jitsu? Because you just think, I'm younger, I'm the better athlete. And people always see like a 50-year-old guy, 40, and they're like, I'm younger, I'm strong. And then they get in there and they're like, this is not, the pressure is ridiculous, the angles are ridiculous. What's it like for you as an athlete to do it? Are you still shocked by when he pulls things off and things like that in grappling?
No, I'm not, you know, and I don't know if you guys know, but Ricardo Laborio's competing in Abu Dhabi. He had a Sperry. He's going to get Sperry, one of his former teammates, and he is one in the 90s now. I've never seen him this light, and I wrestled with him today, and I grappled with him today, and he's always been strong and pressure, but his speed and his agility now, at almost 50 years old, I couldn't imagine when, you know, some of the pictures I see when he was just like hardcore pit bull, I couldn't imagine grappling with him now, because now it's like I almost don't want to do something that pisses him off, like accidentally poke him in the eye or almost get a submission, because I know he can freaking flame me whenever he wants to. So now I'm just trying to, you know, earn my key, not get beat up too much, and try to avoid submission, because there's very few grapplers that are at that level that are great at top, great at half guard, great at mount, great at taking the bag. He's great in every position, and he has unexplainable pressure that he can apply to you, and you know, that's what I like to learn from him.
When you, as a fighter, and you watch other fighters, I'm going to pick that up. That's new. That's new. That angle, that grab. Do you watch fights and do that? And when you come back, what are you hoping to improve on? What are you hoping to bring in? What's your next goal?
You know, it's funny. I just had a conversation with Greg Jackson about an hour ago, and I was saying, you know, when I retire, you know, I'm gonna come out to Albuquerque. Carlos Condit is probably the guy I want to train with the most. You know what I mean? He's just so freaking sick, and he comes at it. You know, I don't know. I'm gonna try to knock him out, but I don't think anybody has shown that they can knock him out. I probably came the closest with as far as hitting him the hardest, but he's just a martial artist, man. He got that respect, that honor, that discipline, and those are the kind of people you want to surround yourself. Unfortunately, me and him, as long as we compete, we will forever be in the upper echelon of the division, and we'll all be close to fighting each other. So we were just talking about that, because when I was about to fight him, you know, I was watching this video, then I get a little nervous, and then I watch some techniques. I'm like, damn, this guy's good, and I started stealing it. You know, I was stealing Rory's techniques, I was stealing his techniques, and sometimes when you're breaking the guy down to prepare a game plan, you identify some of the phenomenal things they do, and you make it a part of yours.
Tyron's going to be back soon. Thank you so much.
Boom, no problem. Thank you, guys.